Welcome to Frost Astrophotography. In this video, we're going to take a look at image acquisition and processing of the Flying Bat and Squid Nebula. One of the more time-consuming projects for this season was the Flying Bat and Squid Nebula, SH2-129 and OU4 as they are also called. The main reason for that is because of the squid, that is basically O3 emissions, wasn't discovered until 2011, just because it is so faint. This, of course, requires a lot of time gathering data, and it also helps if you have a good quality O3 filter that will filter out any other signals that you don't want, such as the moon and light pollution. I struggled a bit in this project just to locate the nights without clouds and the moon at the same time. And finally, I had to settle for some data that wasn't perfect, but that was the data that I had to work with. New target again, and we're going for the Flying Bat Nebula, and we have 21:11:50 and then 59:59:10. So I'm not actually going to center the Flying Bat Nebula. I'm going to center the giant Squid Nebula inside it, because I would probably need to do a mosaic to be able to catch it all with my 510 millimeters, but we will see. For the last target, we will start at around 1 o'clock in the morning, and we are expecting the forecast is telling me that we're probably going to have some high clouds at early morning at around 5 o'clock. But I will see if we can manage to squeeze in some images in between. So I'm going to program this to go from at around 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning, so 5 hours. We're going to slew here as well. We're going to center it. We're going to start guiding, and we're going to autofocus on start and on filter change as usual. For this, we're not actually going to capture any S2. We're going to capture HA and O3. And if I'm going to trust everyone else's images, the O3 is very faint here, so we're going to try to capture as much of that as possible. But we also want HA, of course. So we're starting with 30 HA, and then we're going for O3. And from 1 o'clock to 6, that's 5 hours, so 30 of each is what we can manage to do this session. This project was a real challenge from start to finish, and I gathered about 40 hours of data, 475 light frames at 5 minutes each to be exact, gathered over the period of 13 nights ranging from the 1st of January this year until the end of March. I actually had to remove a lot of data due to the fact that I captured 03 frames when the moon was too apparent, or too high, or too bright, or any number of other problems. For this project, I kept about 370, I think 378 light frames in total, 31.5 hours, and about 50-50 in regards of HA and O3. I dithered for every frame, and I did a drizzle integration to get the best resolution. Let's take a look at the data. Here is the master HA drizzled, and that gives me a resolution of 8288 pixel width and 5644 pixel height. But overall, I would say it's a fairly clean HA data. When it comes to my O3, I've also stacked frames for a total of about 15 hours. But as you can see here, the squid in the middle is very, very faint. I'm also experiencing a lot of light pollution. I also have some star issues. Not very prominent, but might be some frames in here that shouldn't have been there. The left side of this frame is entirely light polluted. I have extra signal here that I don't really want, and it's not present in the nebula at all. So I'm guessing this could be moon or anything else. I did a first linear processing. I did the normal dynamic crop, dynamic background extraction, linear fit, and then the blur and noise exterminator. And I would say it's a fairly good result comparing the original with that one. I've also rotated it, as you can see here. There's also some improvement in the O3. I've gotten some weird artifacts here running the noise exterminator sometimes, but this will be cleared up when I have converted it to a non-linear stage. Moving on to the non-linear phase, I have manually stretched the images here, and as you can see, there's a slight improvement of my O3, but you can still see that you have a lot of light pollution. You can also see a lot of halos around the bright stars here. This is somewhat due to my filter. I would say you will get a much better result with a high-end 3nm filter. I'm not that concerned for the halos around these stars, because in this project I'm going to use the HA stars. I decided that early on, since this is an HO image without the sulfur 2, and I don't really like HO stars that much. Moving on to the next stage of the processing, I made starless versions of the both frames. And yeah, the HA is fairly clean, as you can see here. There's one residual star, and that is the very bright triple system in the middle here. And that is okay. I'm going to keep that. I don't really want to mess with that area. It is very clear now that I will need to make a lot of adjustments to the O3 stack here to remove all of the artifacts and pollution that is around the squid here that I want to keep. You might ask yourself, what is the best way to do this? And I actually made a mask using the clone stamp. I really enhanced the content of the squid here using just the curves and histogram processes. I actually used the clone stamp here on a medium size settings with a low opacity that would allow me to draw the lines of the actual squid here. I could then apply the mask that I made to the original image here, as you can see. You can invert the mask, and then you will see that the mask covers the squid, well, as good as you can with this tool. And then invert it again to show you that the squid is not protected. But for my purpose, I really want to protect the squid and not the background. And then you can manipulate the background using the curves transformation, for example. You could lower this to adjust the background, as you can see here, without as much affecting the actual squid. And I then ended up with a result looking something like this, where I have manipulated away most of the background here, keeping the data inside the outer boundaries of the squid in the middle. I then used the ForaxX utility that you can find under script utilities and ForaxX palette utility here. And I joined these two as a two-frame image, combining the HA and O3 data into a single image. I then proceeded with my non-linear processing steps, sharpening this image with multiscale linear transformation, sharpening some more with unsharp mask, and finally doing a denoise with TGV denoise on the entire image. I also adjusted the color of the squid somewhat from the turquoise blue that you see here to a more deeper blue color, even though it is a very faint adjustment. I also adjusted the background a bit, as you can see here on the original integration. You have a lot of red here, and also some portions here to the right. And those are actually not red in the real world. So I removed that, keeping the lines between open space and the nebulosity as sharp as possible. It was time to select stars, and I have HA stars here, and I have O3 stars here. I also made a ForaxX HO star version, but those came out very, very bluish, and I don't really like that. And I don't like the larger versions of the stars here. So I actually went back to my HA stars and I reduced them quite a bit, as you can see here, just to not overwhelm the very busy nebulosity image here with the stars. So I took the reduced HA stars and the ForaxX HO starless integration here and integrated them into a ForaxX HO with HA stars. And I made some final tweaks to the curves, adjusting the brightness a bit, and also some final adjustments on the darker areas here of that image. So the final image here of the Flying Bat and Squid. 31.5 hours of integration, 378 5-minute light frames, taken over a period of 13 nights from January to March 2023. I'm going to revisit this object for sure. Hopefully I can afford to get some better filters and maybe a faster scope that will allow me to gather data a bit more quickly and have some higher quality on the input data. So please enjoy the final image. Thank you so much for watching this video, and as always, if you like it, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel if you're not already doing so. If you like my videos and feel like you want to make a small donation into the production of these videos, there is an option listed in the video description. Until the next video, I wish you have clear skies.